email marketing is, for me, it's more about providing content that subscribers engage with. If you're not doing that and you're just trying to trick people, it's not the kind of job that I would want to have. I would much prefer to give people something that they want. If we're talking just like raw clicks, we always find that having some kind of download, some kind of ebook, brochure, white paper, app note, something that lets the subscriber download something, we find that those always do really, really well.
So, Torsten, if you don't mind, I just wanted to start with sort of the evolution of email marketing. So, could you describe the evolution in your time at Azo across the sort of scientific and healthcare industries, and how you've adapted email strategies over that sort of period?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, I've been with AZoNetwork for 10 years now, and I've been working in email marketing for about 15 years. So yeah, over that time, I've seen quite a few changes. Broadly speaking, I'd say we've gone from sending out very kind of broad communications to the whole of your subscriber database to looking at more kind of specific and targeted ways you can segment your audience and send very kind of targeted campaigns, really speaking to your subscribers' interests and their kind of field of work.
So you mentioned going from broad to targeted. So what are the sort of key factors that make targeted email campaigns effective?
Yeah, so I mean, the basis of that is really understanding your subscribers, making sure that you're keeping hold of data that allows you to measure their interests and the kind of content that they're engaging with. Because if you know that, then you can serve them the content that they're going to enjoy reading and they're going to continue engaging with.
So is that how you segment the subscriber base based on sort of interests, obviously first, but then other things, sort of what they've previously engaged with, what they've clicked on, things like that?
Absolutely. There's a whole host of different ways you can segment your audience. So other than interest area, you can also keep track of previous campaigns that they've interacted with. I mean, if you can kind of pull out any data on where they are on the sales funnel that they're at, whether they're just looking for kind of general information or if they're a bit further down the funnel and you can identify that they're in the process of buying a product, then that's going to be some really valuable information that you can use to kind of send them specific content that they're likely to engage with.
What is the difference? So you can spend time segmenting your audiences and getting sort of targeted emails for each of those segments. What are the benefits of spending time doing that as opposed to sort of mass email blasts that might go to some people that aren't relevant, but saves you the time in the sort of the segmenting of that audience?
Yeah, well, so if you're particularly in the healthcare and engineering, scientific industries, because the people you want to talk to, they're working in such niche kind of areas and they have very kind of specific interests and fields of work. I think you really do need to make some effort to kind of target the content towards them. Because if all your customers, let's say they all work in aerospace, right? That's a single industry, but there's so many different types of jobs within that industry that if you're just sending out blanket emails to everyone, you're gonna see very little engagement. Whereas if you're able to get a bit more sophisticated and kind of target specific groups within that industry, you're gonna see much greater engagement. And yeah, there is a bit more work involved, but it's demonstrated time and time again that email marketing is a very profitable part of marketing, and it's not something that should be kind of sidelined or ignored. It's something that can really generate some good returns. So I would definitely say it's worth the investment.
Yeah, is it fair to say that you're going to see much higher unsubscribe rates as well, which you spend a lot of marketing effort and time gathering in the first place to then lose it because you didn't want to spend a bit of time segmenting? Seems
absolutely.
like
That's a good point. If you're spending a lot of resources trying to gain subscribers, only to send them content that they're not going to be interested in, it's kind of wasted effort. So yeah, kind of syncing up your strategies there, making sure that whilst you're gaining subscribers, you're also sending them the content that they're going to engage with. Yeah, you're going to see a lot better results with open rates, but also click-through rates.
Yeah, absolutely. If we look a little bit now at the actual creation of the email itself, so you've segmented your audiences. It might be worth just mentioning how many audiences you're currently working with. Torsten, it's hundreds now, I think, is it?
Um, well, the thing with AZoNetwork is that the way our subscriber base works, we're able to kind of segment it on the fly. We're able to find audiences with keywords, and make these subscriber lists very quickly. So there's hundreds, thousands of ways we could segment our audience.
Yeah. So once that process has been done and you're creating the actual email for, let's stick with the aerospace industry, what goes into this thought process about how you develop that email itself?
If we're talking about a content strategy, it's really important to have a content strategy that works with your subscriber lists. So if you can identify where your subscribers are at in their buying cycle, or even if you're not, a good way to kind of decide how much of certain types of content you should be sending kind of relates to the sales funnel. So most of the content you should be sending will be kind of general information, awareness content. So kind of more kind of basic content, writing guides to certain industries and applications, kind of just generating awareness of your company and what you're able to provide. And then a bit further down, you're going to have more kind of specific application focused, kind of bringing in ideas about how certain solutions or products might be able to help with your subscribers' work and their specific applications. And then right down at the bottom, you're going to have product related content that's directly related to products. So looking at that funnel, you're going to have, maybe 50 to 60% of the content is going to be general awareness content, and then maybe 30% is going to be the more kind of application focused, and then 10 to 20% is going to be specific product content. So if you operate under that kind of thinking, rather than just sending out 100% of your content is going to be product focused, think more about how you can provide value and useful information for your subscribers, and operating on that kind of 60 30 or 60 20 10 percentage ratio.
Yeah, makes sense. So sort of informational through to transactional sort of emails. So if someone comes to you and wants to only do a product marketing campaign, would you recommend against that, or is that still something that's relevant, or do you always not insist, but you always encourage people to have gone through the informational process first before moving into the transactional stage?
Yeah, it's a good point, because obviously, at the end of the day, we're all trying to sell more, right? That's why we're doing it. I mean, what I would say, without doing any preparation, without sending any kind of general knowledge content beforehand, I would say, you're not going to get as many clicks on this, because we've not done the setup work to encourage subscribers to a point where they're ready to buy something. So I would say that. So what I would suggest then is that, we set up a proper campaign that has several stages. We identify the subscribers that are interested in that content area, and then we send out, I mean, as many emails as you're able to. 3 is a good number, but you can expand on that if you want. Starting with the general information, and then kind of as you go through the each send, you kind of whittle down the content and get a bit more focused, a bit more product specific. And then that kind of really lays the ground for, generating the interest in that area, and then kind of encouraging the subscribers to the point where you want to get them. And then that's going to help boost the numbers, boost the click-through rates on the product-focused email.
Yeah, so I guess then the obvious follow-up question is, what generates the most clicks at each sort of stage? The informational emails, the transactional emails, what type of email, what type of content do we see being the most successful across the industries that we're working in?
Yeah, I mean, so if we're talking just like raw clicks, we always find that having some kind of download, some kind of ebook, brochure, white paper, app note, something that lets the subscriber download something, we find that those always do really, really well. I think because there's like a inherent value in that. Usually the content's been edited nicely, it's been formatted nicely, it's been put into a nicely designed document, and there's like some real kind of inherent value that's demonstrated there. Also, I mean, oftentimes that's going to be more kind of general specific information as well. So, a guide to adhesives in aerospace, for example, something like that would do really, really well, because while being quite specific, it's also broad enough to be relevant to a lot of people in that industry. It's also clear, and it's not using too much technical jargon. So yeah, something like that would do really well, and that's kind of sitting at the top of the funnel, kind of more general awareness types of content. But then if we're looking more towards like product content, even product brochures do well. Obviously, they're going to be a bit more specific and a bit more technical, but for that kind of giving the subscriber the opportunity to download something and take something away and kind of read it in their own at their own leisure. We just find that really resonates with a lot of our subscribers. So yeah, I really recommend finding content that you may already have and kind of packaging that into kind of ebooks and brochures and that kind of thing, because that's going to do really well in a lot of your email campaigns.
Even if it's just as simple as taking 10 most recent blog posts, putting them into an ebook, and then repurposing that and then sending that out. That's like a powerful way of using content that already exists that can generate a lot of interest, a lot of leads pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to just use it in email campaigns either. You can use it on your website and various other places. So it's not just for one-time use only.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the main reasons I wanted to talk to you today was because you've just been working on the sort of the annual email best practices ebook, which we'll put a link to in the comments below. If we could talk a little bit about some of the things that are in that. So if I wanted to start with sort of title length, an optimal title length for email campaigns and its impact on the sort of the subscriber engagement. What's the sort of the methodology behind this?
Yeah, so after analyzing all our email output over like 13 years, I think it is now, we've been able to identify some kind of key patterns that allow us to impact our future campaigns and inform how we do things going forward. So what we found from the title length, and this kind of reiterates something that we already know, but it's always good to have reminders of why we're doing things, and that's that shorter titles, they perform better. And that makes sense because when you're emailing people, we're emailing professionals, and a lot of us are short on time, and not many people sit there and spend an hour going through their emails, reading every single word in every single email. So making sure you keep things concise and short and to the point, and respecting your subscribers' time by doing that, you're going to be able to speak to them a lot more directly, and you're going to be able to see some better results there. So yeah, we found that around 50 to 60 characters in subject lines and in content titles that's where you want to be aiming for.
Yeah, just looking at the graph you put together at the moment, also, it's like 50 to 60 is sort of almost doubling the amount of clicks you get by
Yeah.
doubling the amount of length. So yeah, really interesting stuff. And just to reiterate, this data is based on how many email sends roughly?
Like over 13 years, like individual email sends to subscribers, it's going to be over 500 million.
So pretty big numbers then. Pretty big
Yeah.
numbers. So yeah, that's the title length. What about CTAs? What do you sort of what's the rationale behind specific calls to actions? Do they differ depending on the piece of content, the industry?
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts there?
Yeah. So it's an interesting one. A lot of the information you'll read will say, be very specific and targeted. What I've and use specific language relating to the content. What we found that from looking at the calls to action in all the emails we've sent is that it does vary quite a lot depending on the content that you're using. So, for example, if you're promoting an ebook, for example, you're gonna want to put the word download in the call to action without a doubt, because that increases the performance a huge amount. And I think we've got it in the document there. Then looking at kind of more general awareness content, we've found that if you're too specific and use kind of language that isn't particularly clear. So, for example, if we compare read more to explore the research in X, Y, or Z, we find that using something a bit more simple and straightforward, such as read more, performs better. And again, I think that speaks to, appreciating your subscribers' time. If you use too much kind of specific language that's maybe a bit too technical, or kind of it doesn't quickly demonstrate what type of content it is or what you're providing, then you're not going to capture their attention in time. But that said, if you used read more for an ebook, it's going to perform worse. So being kind of aware of the type of content that you're sending. For a product, for example, we found that using words like now, so view this now, or kind of view this product now, or view this range now, that works because it kind of creates a sense of urgency. But I mean, I will say this is just what we found for us. It could very well vary for other companies and other products, depending on your specific circumstances. And then, also for events and things, using kind of very direct, specific language. So using the word register, register here or register now, that's going to work. That's going to work quite well, rather than register here for the webinar on X, Y, or Z, and getting a bit too verbose. So making sure that the language you're using is clear and specific. And as I say, kind of you're valuing your subscribers' time.
Yeah, just to continue on this, with register now, download now, these are very sort of final statements. So if you're clicking on that, that's what you're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an argument to say that if you make it less direct, that you can sort of spark the interest from the reader to then go discover more about, let's use webinar as an example, learn more about the webinar on the landing page, and then get them to register? Is there an argument for using CTAs then, or do you want to have that information as much as possible within the email itself and then have the direct CTA? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think it's a tricky balance to try and find. Ideally, you're giving enough information in the content of the email to be able to get the subscriber to click. Right, that's the ultimate goal of the email. Provide just enough information to capture the interest, and then you don't want to provide any more information than is absolutely necessary. because then you're asking the subscriber to read more content, and as soon as you do that, they're going to start losing interest. Really, what you want to be doing is providing value as quickly as possible and make it really easy for the subscriber to interact with. So using calls to action that kind of follow that, and using that kind of specific language that doesn't lead to any kind of confusion as to what they might be going to. I think if you're being a bit vague with the call to action, that's just going to lead to apathy from the subscriber, and they're just going to be like, I'm not sure what that does, so I'm not interested. But yeah, I mean, the thing that you can do with landing pages that isn't so easy to do in emails is you can provide a lot more information. So yeah, it is trying to find that balance of picking out the most interesting, engaging information from the landing page and kind of using that in the email to encourage subscribers to click through.
Perfect. And yeah, just to reiterate, in that ebook, there's like several pages dedicated to C2As and best practices depending on what sort of content it is that you're sending out via email. So yeah, do check out that link, which is below us, and download that report. Just a couple more questions, Dawson. I
Sure.
wanted to talk about analytics and metrics. So how do you utilize analytics metrics to refine and ultimately improve sort of email strategies over time? And what are some of the metrics that campaign managers should be focusing on specifically?
Yeah, so I think it's quite easy to get a bit overwhelmed with all the metrics from emails, because there's a lot you could potentially look at. I try and keep it quite simple. I think there's only really kind of three that you need to be looking at on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis. So for specific emails, you want to be looking at the click-through rate. How well has this specific email done? You can look at the click-through rate for that. Being a bit more broader and kind of keeping an eye on how things are performing on a more general level, you'd want to keep track of your open rates over time, and that's going to give insights into generally how are your subscribers interacting with your content. Have you demonstrated that you're able to provide value? Because as soon as a subscriber starts to lose interest in the content that you're sending them, you're going to start seeing your open rates dipping. So if you see that, you might want to kind of reevaluate your content strategy and start trying picking up those interest levels a bit more. So keeping a track on your open rates over time, and then of course you want to be tracking your unsubscribe rate as well. And again, that's gonna tie into how you're performing over a period of time. And if you see a spike in your unsubscribe rates, you know that you're not doing as well as you maybe could do in terms of the content that you're sending your subscribers.
Should marketers be cleaning that list as well regularly? So if people aren't engaging over a period of, I don't know, several months or so, should that person be removed from your list?
I don't think so necessarily. I mean, I definitely think bounced emails should be removed. And again, it might vary depending on your company and how much email marketing you do. So for us, when an email bounces, for example, once it bounces, we put them on a list, and if it bounces a second time, we clean them off the list, and they're gone from our subscribers. And that just means that any inactive email addresses are being taken out, and that helps with spam scores and improves our deliverability, making sure that the emails we send actually get into people's inboxes. As for people who are just not interacting anymore, I know a lot of companies, they do set like a kind of a either 6, 12, 24-month kind of period where if someone hasn't interacted with the content in that time period, then they're removed, or they're asked, would you like to still receive emails from us? And if not, then they're removed. For me, I kind of think that for those people who haven't interacted in a while, there's still potential that they may do at some point. And if you're able to change your content strategy or your email marketing uh, enough to a point where you're able to gain their interest or gain their trust back, then they could still be, a valuable subscriber down the line.
So, would you suggest making it as easy as possible for people to unsubscribe if they do want to, but not necessarily cleanse your own list that regularly?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you have to have an unsubscribe link in all your emails, and we're seeing there's more and more regulations coming in where you're going to have a unsubscribe link at the top of your emails to make it as easy as possible for subscribers to unsubscribe. And if you don't do that, I think we're going to start seeing that you're going to be hitting more spam filters, and you're not going to be able to deliver as many emails, if not actually break the law, because a lot of EU regulations, and we may see some things in the US come in where we're going to have to be more make it much more easier for subscribers to unsubscribe. So yeah, I wouldn't avoid that. I'd say try and get ahead of that. And yeah, it's email marketing is, for me, it's more about providing content that subscribers engage with. If you're not doing that and you're just trying to trick people, it's not the kind of job that I would want to have. It's I would much prefer to give people something that they want.
Yeah. So avoid those sort of traps where you click on the unsubscribe link and it takes you to a page saying, "Are you sure you want to? Are you sure you want to not unsubscribe from this list?" Like confusing people with the various positive,
Yeah,
negatives, and things like that.
exactly.
Everyone
Yeah.
knows. Yeah, nightmare for everyone. So final question, Torsten. So I wanted to do just a very quick one on resend. So when we do a lot of our email campaigns, we'll send similar content, or we'll do 3 sends of a particular part of the campaign. What are you seeing as the most most effective ways of changing those emails between each send? Is it subject lines? Is it call to actions? What do you recommend there?
Absolutely. I mean, generally, when you resend an email, depending on what you change, I would expect to see like half the result you got in the first send. So if you got, let's say, 100 clicks on the first send, I would expect to see about 50 clicks on the second send. That's if you don't change anything at all. So really, you want to kind of increase those numbers from those 50 clicks. So you can, yeah, the more you change, the more ideally the more impact you're going to have. So if you just change the subject line, that may kind of encourage people that didn't open it the first time. If you change the subject line and some of the content, then you may get some people who clicked on it the first time, they're going to click on it again a second time, and then that would qualify that person as a higher or a better lead. So yeah, I mean, kind of changing as much as you can without obviously creating too much work for yourself. So very minimum changing the subject line, but if you can also change the content, calls to action, things like that, then yeah, you're going to see better results.
Perfect. A great place to end there, Torsten. Thank you very much for your time. Final reminder to download the link to that report, which is in the comments below. Torsten, thanks very much, and speak again
Brilliant.
soon.
Thank you. Cheers.